you really think hard about it, and I'll put this in a metaphor for you. If you look over at the birds that are on the electric lines behind you, there's so many of them, and when you would try to count them, you'd get to a certain number, and then all of a sudden they'd take off, and it would destroy your count. I feel like sand is very much so like birds. If you tried to count them, you just couldn't, and there's probably like half as many or more than sands on the earth than there are humans on the planet. And I think that's a really impactful thing that really develops humanity in a direction that really will help us realize how different we are and how there's not as many or less of us than sand. I had been going on a personal journey of just self-discovery for my life, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was studying a bunch of different things in school, just didn't really care for anything. And then I ran across this story. If it's all right, I'm going to read it. It's really short. It's actually a riddle. It says, "From sand it comes in many colors bright. We use it to let in the vibrant light. In many shapes and sizes does it come. Many church sanctuaries have some." And, you know, that really resonated with me. I didn't really understand why. And I spent months and months trying to figure it out. And I was actually over at Utah Valley University, which has this new glass display that has a lot of artistry work. And I was talking to this guy there, and he was like, "This is made from stained glass." And I was like, oh my gosh, that's the answer to the riddle. And and it was, and once I knew the answer that, you know, sand helps create stained glass, and I saw this beautiful mural, and I was like, you know, there's nothing more fulfilling I can do with my life than to let people know about the wonders of sand and how it changes you in the nitty-gritty areas of life and yourself physically, and other places that you didn't know you had.
Why is the study of sand important? Well, on the surface, the answer to that should be obvious. I mean, we've all been to the beach. I've been to the beach, I don't know, probably 100,000,000 times, because that's where a lot of my samples are that I study. And I remember when I was just a small boy walking along the beach one time, and I think that's where the seeds of a love of sand settled into my heart. Excuse me. And I was walking along the beach, the waves lapping over my feet, and I stopped one time and I looked down. There they were, my feet, standing on that golden, beautiful, wet stuff we call sand. And I thought to myself, what is this that I'm standing on? Where did it come from? Why is it here? Where is it going? One time somebody asked me, so what are the scientific applications of sand? And I thought, well, think about it. Sand is everywhere. We use sand in concrete. We use sand in sandpaper. Without sand, we couldn't build smooth houses. Houses would be rough with splinters and things. But we have sandpaper to make those rough places smooth. So sand is essential for smooth living. So one day, about halfway through the semester, I was sitting in the classroom studying one of my sand textbooks, and a girl walked into the classroom and she said, "Excuse me, is this Dr. Snyder's class?" And I said, "Dr. Snyder? It's economics." Oh, and I said, "Oh, no, this is sandology class." And so she looked at me, gosh, it must have been for like 5 minutes. And I looked at her and I said, "This is a class for those who want to study sand." She had a perplexed look on her face. And I think it was because she didn't recognize me. I said, "What's your name?" Her name was Sandy. So I said, "Would you like to study sand with me?" And she said no, and she left. Without sand, there would be no fun vacations in Hawaii, because our children aren't going to run down to the ocean on rocks or cactus. No, it's going to be sand. Sand's going to be there. Sand is a part of our future. Sand's a part of my future. I'm devoted to sand. I love sand. And I think if sand had a heart, sand would love me, because I've given my life, my soul, my heart, my mind, all to the study of that beautiful, grainy, gritty stuff called sand. It's a gritty subject. It's a beautiful subject. I love sand.
I'm a glass artist. I carve, cut, paint glass. And glass is made of sand. So using sand to cut or carve glass is the only way to do it. It makes sense. It's the circle of life. It's like using diamonds to cut diamonds. It's the only way to do it. Nothing else can cut glass. Sand is the only thing that can cut glass, because glass is made of sand. You can't make sand. Sand just is. It exists. It was here before we were here. All we can do is modify it, change it. We can melt it into molten sand, and then once it hardens, it becomes glass. And then you can return it to sand again. You pulverize it, you crush it into tiny pieces, make powdered glass, you have sand. The location of this studio is extremely fortuitous. We actually have a sand deposit right outside. Some would call it fake, that it's not natural, or that it's some sort of oddity. I would call it a geological miracle, that we have piles of naturally occurring sand right in our backyard, literally outside the door. You know how I know this is real? It's because it's all lumpy. All these little lumps. If it were fake, it would just look like a pile of sand. This sand here, excuse me, this glass, is made of sand from Germany, where the glass was made. This here is from China. You can tell by the bright orange color. These are from Norway. This blue. This is from Greenland. Notice the green color. This here, this is actually from Saudi Arabia. This here, this is bright green, and you wouldn't guess it, but this comes from the sand of the Sahara Desert in Africa. This looks, I don't know where that's from. This sand actually has blood in it. See that red?
Ask yourself now, if all the sand in the world was gone, where would we be? It's everywhere, and if it wasn't here, where would it be?
It's a difficult subject. There's a lot to learn about sand. You know, most people, lay people, who don't know much of anything, just think all sand does is just lay there, sit there, but it's not true. Sand moves around. Sand is on the go. Sand is almost fluid, like water is fluid, but sand is gritty, water is wet.
Because of sand, we exist.
The most important things in life have nothing to do with the stuff that you find in like your neighbors' houses when they're out of town. It's what you find in your backyard when you're living on a beach like in Hawaii. And that is what everybody needs to understand, and that would change everything.
So I wake up in the morning and I think to myself, I can't wait to see the sand again, because it's such a joy to use. To use the sand here, it's so pure and effective, and it feels so nice in my fingers. So as I walk barefoot through the carpet, I imagine that I'm walking barefoot in sand in the beach. And it makes waking up worth it in the morning. That is why I wake up every day.